the loser. Shame on me, I really thought we had a. Lately I be having conversations with myself cause I feel like I have nobody to talk to. I be having conversations with myself cause I feel like I have nobody to turn to. Everything was green light, now we got the red. Could've had somebody else choose you instead. I be having conversations with myself cause I feel like I have nobody to talk to. Everything was green light, now we got the red. Could've had somebody else chose you instead. Yeah, lately I be having conversations with myself cause I feel like I have nobody to talk to. I be having conversations with myself cause I feel like I have nobody to turn to. Everything was green light, now we got the red. Could've had somebody else choose you instead. I be having conversations with myself cause I feel like I have nobody to talk to. Got up in the morning, took a shot, that's the right. Girl, you left my stomach in a knot. Took my lighter and you burned the bridge. Thought you was a writer, no, you just an idol. You got me feeling like Big Sean in this 5, 4, 3, 2. I deserve a minute, wait a minute. Gotta get up and over, regain my composure. No longer my lover, finally finished and you did it. Girl, you really showed me. Think with your heart, don't think with your body. Clever. Sorry now.
Yes,
Yes, on Facebook and YouTube.
yes,
Perfect.
and we're live. We are live on Real Entertainment Network with another edition of The Topics, an exclusive edition of The Topics. Usually, The Topics is aired on Tuesday evening
Mm-hmm.
at 8 p.m. for 2 hours, but we were scheduled for tomorrow at 4 p.m. with this exclusive interview with the founder of Destiny, Olivier Janssens, and we had there is a bit of emergency in his family, some things that he has to take care of, and he felt he was not going to be able to make it tomorrow on time, but he didn't want to not show up at all. So we had to reschedule, last minute earlier on today. So we tried as much as possible to promote this as much as possible that he will be on. So at least he wanted to make sure that he's here with you so that he can answer your questions and take away some of the fears and concerns and all that. So the man himself, he's here with us on this edition of Real Entertainment Network, on this edition of The Topics. So I want to say good evening, Oli. Good evening, Liamiga. Those are the indigenous names, Fortin, Kitts, and Nevis. And I want to say good evening to the rest of the entire Eastern Caribbean. Good morning, good evening, good night, depending on where you are around the globe. You may be in Russia, China, Africa, Belgium. The one of those greetings may be applicable. So this evening we have with us the founder of Destiny, Olivier Janssens, and my usual co-host, Shabazz Bankie King, on another edition of the Topics. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna let the co-host give his introductory statements, and then we would give our guest an opportunity to introduce himself and give a bit of opening remarks, and then we would get into some of the questions that we have. We would have done a bit of pre motion, and so there's some folks who may have some pre questions. So there's going to be a segment where we, get into some of those questions that were asked and give you an opportunity to respond accordingly. So we are also going to have the phone lines open for those who may want to call in live and ask their questions live. The numbers are sliding across the screen. If you wish to call in, 1-869-665-8459 or 662-7196. What we would hope to do is to at least reserve the first hour for us to have that conversation and put in our questions, and then in the second hour we open up the phone lines for those who may want to call in. So, with that said, good afternoon, Bankie. Greetings.
Good evening, Yahsonn. Good evening, Mr. Janssens, and good evening to the folks listening to the sound of my voice. Greatly appreciate you guys tuning in, and welcome to this edition of the Topiks. Sorry about the early changes, but it's without our control, but we still accommodate you guys. So we really appreciate you guys taking time out of our busy schedule, and also Mr. Janssens for still making accommodation to have this interview. Also, let me give a little house rules. This evening, when we open up, give the okay to make the calls. You'll have 10 seconds to make one question or two questions within that 10 seconds, because we want to accommodate as much calls as possible. We also want it to be cordial, be respectful also. Any negative comments would not be read over the air. So be respectful. And sometimes we can get into emotions, but we just want to remember people are listening all over the world and stuff like that. So we really appreciate you guys tuning in. Also, let me say, Yahsonn, again, we really appreciate Mr. Janssens for accommodating us at the same time, because I didn't have to. So I really want to give kudos to his personal PRO, Mrs. Elmers. I mean, really got to give kudos to her when I reached out to her. She was easy to talk to and very accommodating. So greatly appreciate that, definitely. So as I said again, if you just also remember, do us a favor, subscribe, and like the page. We also, this Friday coming up, we're going to have our next show, the Everything Agriculture Show. We'll have Professor Knife, or Dr. Knife, who is a well-known economist throughout the UWI and a professor. So he will be our guest on this Friday. And also this Wednesday coming up will be our next show with Dr. Charles McMillan, Jade Wellness. So definitely Real Entertainment have a few shows going on. So we appreciate you guys to just subscribe the page where you have the early notification when you're about to start the show. So Yahsonn, let me say it again. Welcome our guests. Good evening, wherever you're at, to the sound of my voice, and thank you for choosing Real Entertainment Network. Good evening, Mr. Janssens.
Good evening, and thanks for having me. And also thank you for accommodating me last minute. I know it was supposed to be tomorrow, but tomorrow was probably not going to happen. So thank you for moving me today. That's completely on me, and thank you so much for doing that.
Appreciate it.
Okay, we're going to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to folks who may not know you at this point. I'm pretty sure that a lot of folks on Nevis would have heard of you, think it's a Nevis, but our platform is global, and so there's a lot of folks who may not know who you are. So we're going to give you the opportunity to at least give that, brief introduction, and then we get into some of the questions concerning the project that you are proposing for the island of Nevis.
Sure. Thank you. So my name is Olivier Janssens. I'm the founder of Destiny. Would you like to know some more about my background, or what would you like me to say?
Yes, that would be nice. A few minutes to share a little bit of who you are, so that folks can get an idea.
Yeah, sure.
Who you're speaking.
Yeah. So I have a tech management background. I'm a tech entrepreneur. I'm an engineering background, and I've started my first company when I was in my early 20s. It was a very successful Belgian telecom company. I then started helping out in Bitcoin. I was part of Bitcoin at the very beginning when it was just started in 2010. I helped launch the first Bitcoin Wikipedia page. I helped the project to become successful. I promoted it everywhere in the world. And then I was also part of the Bitcoin Foundation. And then, and in 2016, there was the block size war. And then we lost that, basically. And then I don't want to go into too many technical details about Bitcoin itself, but basically Bitcoin was supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system where you could transact freely for a very low fee. And there was a group that unfortunately won, and they wanted to keep the block size limited. And at that point, the fees to do the transaction became very high, and it was sort of abandoned and became more of a store of value. I also was one of the first people in Ethereum and an investor in that. And then, now I'm investing in SpaceX, X, and Tesla. and I've been Nevisian, and I know that's sort of like a delicate topic because people don't really think you're Nevisian until you've been there for generations, I guess. But for officially, like I am for about 8 years now. When I got the passport, I'm very happy with that. And yeah, so I then started this project, and it was a couple of years ago that we started looking around, and I was thinking, okay, where's the best place? And I found that to be Nevis because I'm also, first of all, Nevisian, but I also think it's the best place in the world, obviously, and the most beautiful place. It has enormous potential. The people are amazing. So I thought, okay, this is just the best place to do it. And then, I guess sort of the rest is sort of history, where it became known to the public in the last couple of months. Unfortunately, there has been a lot of misconceptions. I think that's also part of a communication problem, of course. If I would hear what people have been saying, I would be very upset myself, right? If I hear all the rumors and believe them, I would be terrified almost, right? Because it's very scary what people are saying. Fortunately, it's not true, right? And I'm also here to correct all of that. Now, the good thing is, even if you don't believe me, you don't have to believe me, right? We always say trust but verify. So if you don't want to trust me, that's fine. You verify the facts yourself. The facts are today. There is no agreement signed with the government, right? There's nothing that's been passed or secretly agreed to. The SSZ Act, which I will get back to in a second, the SSZ Act is a limitation that was put in place by the government. And I will tell exactly how that works soon, but I don't want to go into it yet. So the SSZ Act is a limitation, and one of the limitations is that any agreement that is, going to be passed or agreed to with the government has to be passed in Parliament, which means any agreement that we would sign, hopefully in the next weeks, will then be submitted to Parliament. Then it will be publicly scrutinized by everyone in St. Kitts and Nevis. You can give your comments, you can have your feedback. And only then, when everyone has seen the agreement, it will be either passed or not passed, right? So nothing has happened yet. And everything can only happen with your full transparency, or you having full transparency and your opinion being included, because there's nothing more public than having a parliamentary session where all the public documents are made public. So I want to say today to everyone, if you're scared about this project, if you're worried, I understand, especially if you hear everything that's been going around, which I hopefully will help to sort of give you the truth today, right? About the facts that are really there. But even if you don't believe what I tell you, you can soon, hopefully in a couple of weeks, again, look at the agreement that will be in front of Parliament. You can look at all the documents there and you can judge yourself, right? And then you can say, okay, I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about this. But I hope we should not be concerned about things which are not true, because there's so many things that are not true. And I'm hoping today to give you this clarity. That's all I'm asking. Have an open mind, listen to what I say, and then afterwards you can check it yourself. So, yeah, thank you.
All right, great. Yep. All right, thank you very much. I mean, you have said a lot, and definitely, I mean, whatever make yourself comfortable, just relax with just reasoning, and you just really a simple question. So, your first question comes from me. On this project, I mean, it should be a residential hotelier, I'm not sure, but upon completion, what would be on a yearly basis all year round the population within living in that zone? What would be the population on a yearly basis living within the zone? What is expected? The amount of people?
Yes. Well, we are development in the end, right? That means we have to build the units. People have to buy the units. That means we need time to build those, and also we need to be able to sell those, right? So, in an ideal version, we will be able to sell thousands of units, but that might take many years before we get there. We can't sell 5,000 units in a year. That would be pretty.
Yes,
pretty
I understand that, but I'm just saying, upon completion, what will be the total amount of people you expect living on a yearly basis all year round as resident within that zone? What population you looking like?
I don't really know. It's like asking how many people will live in Nevis, in the next 20 years. It depends on demand and the market. For example, if we become like St. Bart's, right, and have the same sort of degrees of popularity, it also has limited space. So I can't in good conscience tell you exactly how big it will become in 5-10 years. Of course, we are aiming for thousands of units. It's not going to be hundreds of thousands, right? It's just going to be thousands of units. Will it be a couple thousand? Will it be more like 5,000, 10,000? I don't really know. This is sort of like a guess for me too. So I hope we can become successful because, and I will go into the details of why that will be great for St. Kitts and Nevis in terms of the GDP and the study, Oxford economic study that was done. And the profit share that we will also do with Nevisians. So our success is also your success. But in terms of units, exactly, this is sort of the idea which I just gave. It can be a couple of thousand. It can be more, but I don't know. Hopefully.
Okay. I know the Premier mentioned there should be a population within 7 to 10,000, more or less. And at the town hall, there was a young gentleman asked a question where, if there are cap between 7 to 10,000, and the Deputy Premier at the town hall meeting responded, there is not a minimum limit. Max, so within your development, you should have an idea. Currently, how much land do you have currently? How is there? Because there's not a minimum when it comes to the amount of acreage that you're looking for. But within the designs that we've seen at the town hall meeting, there was expected to have 2 or 3 zones, but I realized there are 6 zones. So what is the maximum capacity that can fill that zone? Because the reason why I asked this question, because I met with your PRO, Ms. Elmes, and I asked the question within how much people will be living all year round, and she did answer the question and say it will be over 10,000. So I'm asking you the question direct, what will be a population? Because there's a number out there already, and to avoid as much transparency as possible, the more information that is out within the general public is very important. Because I know you said you're a citizen, but those who listen to the sound of my voice, when someone let me say, I am a Navel Stringberry, that resonate with them, that sit with them, because Nevis is 13.5, between St. Kitts and Nevis, there's like 50,000 plus Nevisians like you, we say that Nevisians like you or Kittitians like you, but in the reality, there are only a few 30 to 40,000 of us native. So the population density that have been putting out there really causing another awareness amongst the natives, where you find the Chamber of Commerce, the law fraternity, the ecclesiastic, the churches, is just even the Attorney General father, who is a KC, even commenting on it. So it shows that it's a lot of controversial, and this is, from what I've realized, is all spectrum of society is having concern with this development. So that's the reason I'm asking you, what is the population you're looking at within that development? And the more transparent this information is, then it's better, because this seems to be the big issue. The number is that the locals will be the minority in the long run.
Well, the honest answer in terms of what the population will be in the future, I can't really tell you, right? We have a goal that we want to aim for, right? And it's 5,000, 10,000 units. But I mean, I can't really say how much we will be able to sell, right? So I can't tell. But let's go back to the root of the question, and I think that's also very important to address. What are the concerns, right? If you have increasing population, what are the concerns surrounding that? Like, what are you worried about? Because I think that's also important to talk about.
Okay, let me ask an easier question for you then. Is the project a CBI project?
We're still discussing with the government, of course, but yes, the idea is that people that buy a unit can also or get a passport with that, so it also increases the CBI income, because the CBI income has been drying up substantially. It's also a big concern for the island, so it can definitely help rejuvenate the whole passport program. And also talking about passports, and I think it's a much more urgent concern, right? If you're worried about people having passports or voting rights, and I will also go into that, of course, because I think it's important. You have right now 50,000 passports that were sold, right? So you already have like double the population of what you have right now, and those come with voting rights. And I think that's an issue that needs to be addressed by the federal government, because technically those people can come to St. Kitts and Nevis today and vote.
Yes.
And and this is a bigger problem than having something which is now sort of theoretical with a couple thousand people coming versus having the 50,000 already.
Well, the reality is the 50,000 out there, most of them not even know where Nevis is really. But this project will bring a residency more or less bigger than the population in Nevis. So it's a total different way of saying it. So it's really two different. It's really apples and cheese. But so if it is a CBI project, so which means you will be having shares to sell in order to develop the project. I mean, how will that work? Because also you really mentioned in the I see a video yesterday evening where you say you'll have some low affordable homes. Let me say affordable homes. That's your exact word. I don't want to say what you say. They will have affordable home within that environment. So, but if it's a CBI project, it means that the home within that environment have to start at a certain prices. So how would affordable homes fit into that environment? But still, as I mentioned, remember, as I told you, your PRO told me the residency all year round will be over 10,000 living within that environment. So I just want to put that on. So do you stand with that amount?
Yeah, I mean, if we're successful, then we can definitely get to that number, right? I mean, we can get to 10,000 residents, of course, but I can't promise it. That's basically what I mean, right? We can't guarantee that it will be that many, but we'll definitely try to get there. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So back to the same question now. So explain how the CBI gonna work when it comes to buying a condo or a home. If by buying that, if you're gonna have shares to sell. Do that come with shares? How that works?
You mean CBI or because I'm not?
Yes. So where the funding gonna come? Yes. How does that work? Usually CBI mean you get amount of shares and then you sell the passport. The money will help to develop the project and stuff like that. So how does that work for your project?
Well, technically, it is when you buy a unit, right? The moment you have paid down at least $325,000, if I'm correct, you have a right to a passport, right? So we're talking to the government to make sure that every unit that gets sold also has an obligation to get a passport with that unit. So there's a guaranteed CBI income per unit that is sold, if that makes any sense. I'm not going to go into the technical details because I don't want to say anything that's incorrect. But the whole idea is that the CBI program will be involved and St. Kitts and Nevis both get CBI income from units being sold, yes. Obligated, yes. So I can't hear you anymore.
Your mic is muted. Your mic is muted, Bankie.
Yes, sorry about that. If this is at this present time, if the project have to start tomorrow, which means you have the funding already in place to do the total complete project. So where's the funding going to come from? How much funding you have already to start that project? If you say you have to start tomorrow, well, X amount of unit will be finished within the first year and a half. The second is the project just flow with no stopping, and you're saying the white horse is a white elephant, as they call it. So are the funding available as we speak without anything as a go?
Yeah, first of all, as part of the development agreement, we need to show the government proof of funds, right? So we need to show that we can have the funding to build this. We did that, and we will continue doing that, right? Otherwise they cannot sign the agreement. We have the funding in place. It's also an incremental type of funding deal, right? We will fund, let's say, the first couple hundred units to be built, and then those units will be used. And of course, I have to be very clear about the accounting. We will use strict accounting. We will abide by international development rules. So we can't just take the money and create some sort of like pyramid scheme, because some developments try to do that. We can only use the profits towards future developments. So in any case, the whole idea is that this will be gradually built over the years, and that we will have the necessary funding. And once we have the investment, once we have the first couple of hundreds of units built, then we can easily get investment for the next couple hundred units, right? But for the first couple hundred units, we have the funding in place. We can't, fund, let's say, $10 billion up front because you have to do this gradually. So for the first hundreds of units, we have funding that's in place, and when that's successful, we will then start building the next from that, if that makes sense. But again, always by standards.
Yes. Yeah. So for the general public who are listening and those who are watching, so for the first phase, what do you have to? How much residents you expect to build in the first zone, and what will be the cost of? Like I know back in the 90s, Four Seasons was said to cost $300 million. So what is your present cost for the first zone? That funding you have presently ready to go?
Yeah, so we want to be very careful and conservative when we start. So we don't want to flood the market with 1,000 villas, right? This is not in our advantage. So we will only have a small amount of villas initially that we will build and sell. And then after those are sold, we will start building the next. So we're building in neighborhoods, which means, and there's not 6 zones, it's only one zone, right? There's no 6 zones. It's just one. Destiny is only one area. It's not spread around.
Yeah, but on the layout, how we have everything designed, like we have we call it those homes when you go play golf and different stuff. What do you call those again? You have about 8 of them within that zone. The clubhouses, which was in this the zone 6, and then where you have the hot springs and area and stuff like that, where there will be the spa. That was in a different zone. Because I tend to sit at the front of the class and pay attention. So can you say that 6 zones? So the premier had also mentioned, when he mentioned zones, he had mentioned there'll be no more than 2 or 3 zones. But then I realized there's 6 zones. So why 6 zones then? But you say it's one. But on the paper that Mr. Brand shows, there are different numbers within the chart they call. So I'm just saying.
Yeah. Of course, you have Destiny Destiny is the whole area, right? This is the area, and then we subdivide that in phases. You have phases. That's why they're numbered.
Yes.
Or we also call them zones, but it's not like it's separate. It's one contingent area, and there's like subdivisions in zones. Yes, exactly. So we can call Zone 4 is more towards the middle between Saddle Hill and Long Point Port, right? That's where the first zone 4, can call it that like that will be. But even that zone is split up into neighborhoods, right? A neighborhood can be hotel branded, it can be just private. We were definitely in advanced discussions with several hotel brands, very very good luxurious brands. We made it very far. They're very interested. I can't disclose those names yet because we also need to have some guarantees and agreements signed. But basically, the first zone will be, let's say, the first neighborhood will be around 50 villas. We will sell that neighborhood, and then in the months after that, we will start selling the next neighborhood, and that's how we will incrementally grow in Zone 4. And then once that's completed,
So what is the budget for the first zone with the combination with the 50 villas and the amenities? How much? What amount do you expect within that time frame? Within the first years. So what is the budget for that? What is the budget amount? Usually there is a budget upon completion from start to finish, and then people start to move in and live within and stuff like that. So what is the budget which you say you have available for that, ready for that first zone?
You mean the funding that's required, or?
Yes, exactly. Yes. The reason I'm asking this question is to make sure that the project don't need our money. Can usually have projects come here and then they tend to come to the National Bank or CBI and different areas, and then they end up with funding the projects. So that's what we're trying to understand. But as you said, it's a CBI project. So I'm still wondering if what you said.
No, we're not getting money from the CBI program, right? We're only giving money towards the CBI program. Yeah, but be very clear. We're not getting anything. We're not doing loans from banks. We have for the question maybe is more, okay, how much do you need cash wise to be able to do the first neighborhood? It's about $50 million to do the first neighborhood of 50 villas that we need to do the cash to build, right? But
yes,
that's what we have planned. I mean that.
Okay, all right.
There's other things that come into play. It's not just 50 million because the capex will be. But I mean, Yeah, just what is required as an investment from investors basically is 50 million for the first neighborhood. I'm not going to go into exact details about how much everything
Okay,
costs, but
yes. Upon starting the project, I know you have to build out a town where you need people who maybe important people living in the environment. So housing, water, energy. So where the water gonna come from, where the energy gonna come from? Kind of listening in the video, as I said, there was a release yesterday with and you mentioned you'll use generators, which I don't see that being efficient enough. Water, I mean, so are you gonna tap into our source temporarily? And
yeah,
how
good
long will that be?
No, the answer is no. We don't want to be any strain on Nevis, right? We're not going to use any water or power. That's definitely not the goal. What I said yesterday, because the question was asked yesterday in in a Q&A, which actually was earlier. It was just a broadcast of the Q&A that happened the week before, right? But anyway, the power, what I said yesterday, the question was, okay, are you going to be a strain on Nevis in terms of power or water? And my answer was
Yes.
no. Of course, but to build, you need power. And I said, while we build, let's say, the first, I don't know, we put batteries in place, we have a solar field, stuff like that, we need some power, but we can easily provide that with diesel for the first construction phase. But we do have a contractual requirement, and also thanks to the SSD Act, we are required to have 70% come from renewable energies, right? Of course, what I also said yesterday was this: you cannot suddenly have renewable energies overnight, right? The geothermal plant is not finished yet, so we can't use that one either. And if we do use the geothermal, Nevis comes first, right? And we're still part of Nevis, but I mean, we're not going to take anything from you, and because I really care a lot about Nevis, and I don't want to be a strain, and we will not be a strain. So we will have temporarily some diesel that we need to use to build stuff, but we will then switch to solar. And also, I'm very much into this self-sustainable neighborhoods, which means every house will have solar panel roofs and solar panels as much as we can. We will even cover the roads with solar panels. We will have battery banks. So we're hoping that will be enough to be self-sustaining for every neighborhood. So it's like an individual self-sustaining unit in its own. The water will also be similarly generated. We won't take from the existing water supply. We will make sure we use rainwater. And there's like the whole plan, which was already made public, but will be made completely public soon. Done by WSP, and other firms that basically show the calculations they made is they concluded that rainwater and everything that we can collect together with pooling that into what do you call it, like ponds, and that's probably the wrong word, but we have some water reservoirs, right? And that will be enough to supply the whole area of Destiny with water. And like I also said yesterday, hopefully when we do have more supply than we need, we would be happy to also supply that back towards Nevis, so you can also enjoy that. And we won't do that with like massive profits. We will do that.
Yes. We're speaking on water. We're speaking on water, because the video that was shown with the premiere video of Destiny, with going all through the villas and stuff like that. Those lakes in front of us. What are those swimming pools? Are lakes actually running through the villas and build? Those are lakes, is it?
The villa itself, I don't know which one you talk about, but the villas have pools, right? Of course, most villas have pools, but we have lakes in between, and those lakes are also
that's what I meant. Yes, the absolutely. Lakes. So the lakes, as you realize, water is really something precious around here. So where are those water going to come from to fill those lakes and stuff like that? How are we going to get all those water? And also, remember the water one, eh? And I'll give one. You go ahead, answer that one there.
Yeah,
where the water going to come from for the lakes?
Through rainwater collection, right? That's the calculations they did, and I will double check all of that. But they said normally it's possible from just the water from like rainwater collecting.
Who said that?
The engineers.
Okay, all right. Also, the premier had mentioned in a meeting when it comes to liabilities, where one of the things is that they cannot repeal the bill, the act that was passed. So, and he mentioned if the developers retract the project, they would have to pay something like 75 million, and then they're working out the amount that the government itself will pay. So how does that fit into it? What will be the liability of the people of Nevis if the bill is retracted?
Which bill do you mean?
The one that was passed to accommodate the project?
But there's no bill passed.
The one in Parliament? Yeah. Huh? The act that was that was laid out for the project to be accommodated. Because for this project to be accommodated, there was something have to pass in Parliament to accommodate this project. It's special. It's set to be a special zone. So that one.
Shall I briefly go into the SSZ Act to because I think there's so many misconceptions about that, right? The act that was in August, right, is a special sustainability zone act, right? But the only thing that really does is put limitations in place, because people say repeal the SSZ Act, but those are guardrails or safeguards which were put in place by the government for future developments to abide by certain standards and also to make them special sustainability zones. So the Act sort of puts the rules in place. If you want to create a special economic zone in St. Kitts and Nevis, right, then you also need to have certain standards you abide by. This Act is a limitation, right? There's no... just to show you, without this act, the government could perfectly pass a law tomorrow just for Destiny, where basically they put everything in there which is in the act or like granted by the act or even beyond that, without having that act. So what they did instead is they put a special sustainability zone act in place, which puts limitations for future SSZs to abide by. The act itself doesn't really do anything. The act itself actually says that any future development before it's approved has to go in front of Parliament. Okay. And
let me put it this way. Let me put it this way. Maybe I'm rewording things differently. There's a clip with the liability of the NIA with the agreement. With the agreement, which is not signed as yet, but you understand. But he mentioned a number that the government will be liable for $75 million. So let me put that as the liability and take it out of the act and say within the agreement. But so what I know, there's nothing. You're still working out, but there's a large amount which you all have made the investment, so it wouldn't cost the government anything, more or less. So the government is the one who is not costing them anything. You're the one. So that is why. But if you all retracted, then the 75 million, is that right?
Yeah. Thank you. So I'll explain. Right. There's two sides to that. So you have the government, right, and we have us. And if we fail to meet certain goals or standards, or we fail to meet, we have to pay, and we actively have to work with that. For example, we have a capex that we have to meet. We have to do a spend or an investment into Nevis every year for a certain amount of money. And I'm not talking about the 50 million. I'm talking about, because of the white elephants, we have to build a certain for a certain amount of money. Let's say $100 million worth of property has to be built in this amount of time. The year after that, it has to become 200 million, right? This is how it increases year by year. If we fail to meet those goals, so there will be penalties by us to be paid. This is an active requirement for Destiny to meet goals. This will cost us a lot of effort to make sure we meet those. If we don't meet goals, then we'll have to pay, right, fees or fines. From the government side, this is very different, right? With the government, this whole rumor about government paying $23 billion or whatever was going around, it's completely false. That's not true. I don't even know where that number came from. The risk for Destiny and for any special sustainability zone like Dubai, the IFC, whatever, if any point in the future the government decides to basically go to Parliament and vote and rescind or what do you call it, destroy the act itself for Destiny, right, that was in place, or the agreement. If the government says we're removing that, Well, you have to understand, like, the reason why Destiny becomes so valuable is because it's a special sustainability zone with special rules. That's why special sustainability zones around the whole world are very valuable. If it suddenly says those rules no longer apply there and it's all gone, and you just become, I don't know, like you have to start paying taxes, stuff like that. This is not what we agreed to. But that requires active effort from the government to come in and say, we're now going to destroy your zone, right? But this is very important to know as a background or the context for this. The government doesn't have to do anything.
So what will be...
Let me finish for a second. So
go ahead.
If the government signs an agreement with us tomorrow, it gets ratified in Parliament, and everyone approves, and it's in place. We have all these commitments we have to abide by. The only thing the government cannot do is go back on its word and now say this zone is from now on destroyed. If that happens, and that's the only thing they cannot do, right, in the future, is singularly, like only from their side, unilaterally decide we're going to destroy the zone, right? Because then all the value of the zone that has been invested becomes not worthless, becomes devalued significantly overnight. At that point, the government will have to pay damages, right? What are those damages? Right now, that's set to be based on the capex we spent, if I'm correct. I have to double check. But that basically means if let's say we invested $1 billion into the zone or $100 million, right? Then that will be the calculation method to see which damages the government has to pay. The 23 billion is not true, right? If for example, next week, after the zone would be approved and passed in Parliament, and we spent $1 million on the zone, and then the government decides to rip up the whole agreement in pieces, then they would have to pay maybe $2 million, right? Twice the money we spent, right? And that's the way we are discussing it right now. But again, all of that will become public in Parliament. You can look at it, you can give feedback. But again, I have to emphasize that it would require an active destruction from the government to make that happen, right? They don't need to do anything, right? Just, okay.
Yahsonn?
Well, I am listening on a number of things jumping out at me as I listen to the explanations from Mr. Janssens, and it sounds to me, even though you are saying that this thing has not been signed, because this has been said a number of times within your utterances, but in the conversation, it almost sounds guaranteed. I heard you said something about it being passed in a couple. It would be passed in a couple of weeks, as if like, well, this has to happen. So here's one of the things that I'm trying to figure out. At this point, this is your first interview, so to speak, your first PRO work in terms of Nevis. So far, all that has been done would have been done from the government side of things, where the government is seeking to try to get a buy-in to the people or from the people. However, there has been a lot of pushback. And I guess this is why also you are here to seek to address some of these things based on the pushback, which I think probably you should have been even more forefront, should have been out there in the forefront. Why first up, why were you not so open up front after knowing that this is what you hope to do, to come to the public instead of having the government seeking to do this versus you doing this at this point?
Yeah, it's a very good question. We actually were always open, but there's always these agreements. They take a long time to negotiate, right? It's also for us a bit of a problem because we're talking to the government, we're discussing possibilities. How much money are we going to pay? Is it 50 million? Stuff like that, right? Also, these things evolve over many months, right? And we can't really go to the public yet unless we have some sort of there's nothing signed yet, but that government and us are sort of getting aligned sort of like agreeing, yes, this is okay for us, right? At that point, we can then disclose potentially, because it's always tricky. You have to understand we're the first development ever that goes public with the agreement, right? This has never happened before. When the Four Seasons came, no one has ever seen that agreement. I'm not aware of it. So we have to be careful because we're in active negotiations with the government. It's also a bit of a balance. How much can we disclose to the public? But once we agree with the government, they will be paid $50 million. At that point, the government is not going to say, no, we don't want 50 anymore. We want 10. So at least we can tell the people, okay, the government is getting 50 million. What I then propose to the government is, I would also like to share with you 20% of our profits. They didn't ask for that, but I want to give back to Nevis. That's also why I told the government we want to share 5% with the people directly, because I want to give back to Nevisians, because this is to Nevis. I don't want to take from them, I want to give back. And I really mean that. People seem not to believe it, but I think it's a huge part of the project that we're giving back to you. You're part of this development. No development in the world that I'm aware of has ever just given 5% of the profits to the people, right? But anyway, those things we tell the government, we have some back and forth. But yes, I did see a lot of misinformation spreading around. And I don't blame people for that, by the way. I respect that. I'm also very skeptical myself, because if you don't have information, you start filling in those gaps yourself, right? You start thinking, oh, but what about this and this and this? And then you start making up all like this, or you start looking on the internet and you come to the wrong conclusion. And that's fine. It's also on us not to be transparent enough, but we also always have to balance when. That's why I also released a video. I don't know when it was, September or October, with the details, like the 15-minute video on the Destiny.com website. And the government has been doing some communication, but it was clear that we also have to be very much involved now with the people. And that's exactly what we did. Also, when I really want to make a call to the people today, say, look, if you have any questions, please contact us, right? We have email contact information at the bottom of the website. We're going to do more interviews. We're also planning a town hall or a conference ourselves with Nevisians very soon, where you can come and ask your questions. But if you have any questions or concerns in the meanwhile, please contact us. There's nothing secret about it from our side. Again, we don't have a signed agreement, so everything I say, you have to take with a grain of salt, because if I say the government is going to get 50 million, but tomorrow they ask for 60 million, it might still change, right? So for me, it's very delicate to tell you everything because we don't have a signed agreement. But the most important part to take away, right? And I will share as much as you that I can, that we have right now on the table, is that anything we agree to in the end will be put in front of Parliament, and you will have full transparency and visibility before this law is passed, right? You can have open debates all you want before the agreement is passed in Parliament. So there will definitely be a place or a time in the future, hopefully in a couple of weeks, where we agree with the government, okay, this is the final agreement, now they're going to Parliament, now we're going to discuss with people exactly what's in there, what are your concerns, and then the government and you can say, okay, we want it or not, right? That's it.
Mr. Janssens, I hear that, right? And I heard, when I listened to the repeat presentation yesterday, you mentioned that, as you were just alluding to, you want this thing to be done and you're looking for it to be done even before January. You don't really want it to go over into next year. You want, to come to this end of the agreement and the government go into the House and deal with this. Now, however,
right.
there's seemingly a serious pushback from the people. And there's a lot of people who seemingly don't want this project. Now, here's a question. Would you be opposed to the government holding a referendum to see if the people really want this Destiny project? And if that would be welcomed, and let's say at the end of the referendum, the people say no, would you at this point be willing to accept that and, move on and say, okay, well, the people of Nevis don't want this project? And
yeah, let me make it back to the pushback first, right? Because the problem right now is that all this pushback is not really based on facts. It is based on rumors. And rumors can go pretty far. I've heard rumors about 10,000 libertarians coming. This is completely false. There's no 10,000 libertarians coming to take over Nevis, right? And I'm not trying to make a joke out of it, although to me this is a joke. These are genuine concerns from people, but they need to be addressed. And right now people have all these ideas, right, which are so wrong because, yeah, for sure, I'm a libertarian, but, you might be a conservative or a liberal. I don't really care. But that doesn't mean suddenly 10,000 liberals will come to your project if you create a project, right? It's not true at all. I mean, and a libertarian, I think, is pretty moderate in terms of what they want. They're just for civil rights. But I mean, that's a different story. But anyway, if you have all the information and all the facts, and then you can make a judgment call, I think it's up to the government. It's not for me to organize a referendum or organize one. I think it's up to the government.
Sorry.
I understand, but I think it's just up to look. You elected your politicians, right? And you want them to do a good job. And I think it's up to the politicians to look at all the data, all the facts, look at the agreement, see what the people think about it, go to the people, ask their feedback, take that all into account, and then they can pass or not pass the bill based on what people say, right? And it might mean and I think it's great, right? Have an open process. I'm all for that. So when the agreement gets put in front of Parliament, people can comment on it all they want. They can debate it in Parliament. The opposition can debate it, and then they can say, "Yeah, we like that, but we don't like that. What can we do about it?" And then maybe you can all come to an agreement. And then we can say, yeah, okay, is it acceptable for everyone? Yeah, or most people? Yes, okay, let's pass it. A referendum is a whole different story. And I can't really, that's a government thing to decide, right? Referendums are not that easy to do, right? It's a whole process. Well, it can take a very long period of time. Yeah.
I think you answered my question because I didn't ask you to do the referendum. I asked if you would be opposed of them doing it. And you said that you would not be opposed of them doing it. So that's where
I can't answer that if I'm opposed or not. The problem with referendums is, right, a lot of people don't spend the time to look into all the little details, right? They're just gonna feel emotionally about something and they're gonna vote. So referendums are very tricky and sometimes dangerous. I think it's really up to the government to have that discussion internally. That's why you have elected representatives, because almost no one in St. Kitts and Nevis, all the laws that are passed, which Kittitian or Nevisian spends the time reading the law and bothering with that? This is not your job, right? I mean, I would support it, by the way, because I like the idea of direct democracy. I'm in full support of that, but it also requires a lot of investment to look at these things, right? So I'm worried about the referendum being held, that it will be more an emotional decision than a decision based on facts. That's why I think it's important for a government to make that decision on proposals themselves and have feedback from the people, right? So it's a bit of a. I'm not saying I'm for or against it. I'm just hoping the government will do a good job at looking at the agreement, and of course they are, because they're negotiating them on a daily basis. But then also incorporating feedback from the people, feedback from the opposition, to work on it. Oh, by the way, talking about the opposition, right? For me, this is not a project which is CCM or whatever, or NRP. I'm outside of that, right? So we also invited the opposition. We invited the NRP to come already, I don't know, maybe a week or more than a week ago. Because we are starting to do Q&As, right? So we had already 2 Q&A sessions. The second one we will also broadcast very soon. But we invited NRP to come over, and unfortunately, they haven't, come yet. But we reminded them, and then the reply was, Chairman was going to reply to us soon. I really hope, and I really ask the NRP, if they're listening, please meet with us and tell us your concerns, because we want to talk about those concerns, right? Also, we want to give people the facts, and the NRP the facts. So we are very worried right now that we bring something very beautiful, very, very amazing to Nevis, and people think, oh no, it's going to be a 10,000 libertarian takeover. And I'm like, no, not at all. We want to be a family resort. We want to attract families. We don't want to attract 10,000 libertarians, right? We want to attract 10,000 families, right? And this is the idea. Sorry, I'm going on too long.
Yeah, but I think part of the problem is this where we're at, because a lot of what people had to speculate is because they were not getting this access to information or from your PRO or from your side to get the answers directly from you. So this is the first time, and it is months now that this issue has been on the front burner, to the point where, as I'm saying, that there's a lot of pushback. And so
Yes.
seemingly, so now here's another thing. The point that you just made in terms of this thing has to be placed in front of the parliament. I hear you say it, and I hear the premier touting it. But when we realistically look at the way our parliament is set up right now, at this present point, where you have, I think it's 6 of the federal seats from the Nevis Labour Party, the present government, and then you have 3 opposition members in Nevis, which is the CCM and the NIA, which is seeking to get this project done. What is the realistic position of this being presented to the parliament and it really having any opposition, when in actuality it was the 3 opposition member and 3 Labour members who actually put the SSZ bill into place? So there is a clear demonstration that there would not necessarily be any opposition. So it would just be technicality, a formality and a debate, but it is almost as if you're saying that this thing is already signed and sealed.
No, I'm not saying anything because I cannot say no. I don't know if they will.
You can't say it, and I'm not saying that you are saying it. But what I'm saying is, based on how our political structure is, that is not, that argument then does not necessarily hold any weight or give us any credence.
So, question, Yahsonn. So, one of the questions I want to ask,
yes,
Mr. Janssens. One of the questions I want to ask you, one of the questions I want to ask before you answer, how long have you been with discussion with the NIA about this project? And when you have put the final documents, say, well, we have a project, this is a project completely, we're ready to go. How long have you been in conversation with? Yes.
I'll happily give you the timeline, but let me answer that question first, right? So, we're still in negotiations. Nothing is guaranteed to be passed.
Yes, but what I'm saying, when the first time you went to the NIA about a project, when did you tell them about this project? And then when they present them, well, we have everything ready to date, so everything is all the EIA have been finished, all the eggs in this basket, and the funding is there. When was that proposal put to them? So when was the first discussion and the final discussion?
Allow me to answer Jason's question, and I will answer your timeline question. I will not forget it. Okay. So in terms of the parliament, you say the opposition and the current federal which are elected, and that's what you call them, not the opposition. They're both sort of, you think, they're both on board with this. Well, we're still negotiating with them, right? Also, these are your elected representatives, right? That means the question really is like, do you elect the people to lead and make you these decisions, right? Or these are the right people that are put in place? Some people will say, no, I don't like them. Other people will say, yes, I like them. That's how elections work. Now, the question is, if they're both already on board, like it's a done deal. No, this is not true. If it was a done deal, it was already been done, like, I don't know, in the past, months ago, right? We're still negotiating, every day almost about details. And this is very important, then it goes to parliament. I want to discuss already today with the opposition, right? Before this even goes to parliament, I want to have discussions with everyone and be open. This is also why I'm here with you. I'm proposing the facts that we already have discussed with the government without, having the full agreement out there, but like a lot of things which are very important and critical, I want to talk about. But the whole idea is that this agreement will be aired in parliament. The opposition can give their feedback. They can give concerns. The people can give feedback and their concerns. Then the government, which is elected today, can take all those concerns into account, adjust the agreement, approve the agreement, abandon the agreement. It's up to them, right? I can't But I hope they make a right decision, because and I do think, and of course I'm very biased, right? What we have in front of us today is extremely beneficial for St. Kitts and Nevis. Like, I don't really see any sort of risk. People might think there's a lot of risk, but I really want to have everything presented, the agreement, and people look at it and think, okay, this is not as bad as I thought it was. Or maybe they think, I don't like it at all, right? But at least we can have a discussion, and the government can also look at what people think and make a final decision based on that. And once we have had those public debates and discussions, when all the agreements are made public, then it's up to the government, of course, to decide. And I don't know. I hope that answers your question, right? I mean, it's not a perfect world. It's not a direct democracy, right? I already gave my opinion about referendums. I'm also not against them. It's just a question of, if you do a referendum, you want to make sure people really understand all the facts in front of them, right? And when going to the timeline, yes. So I also mentioned that in the Q&A yesterday, but you have to know about negotiations. They take a very long time, and it's an idea like this doesn't take place overnight. So we first started buying or optioning land I'm ballparking here, about 20 months ago, right? No one knew about it. The Premier didn't know about it. The real estate agents didn't know about it. We just started getting options on land. And then that was well before we told anyone, because we were trying to see, can we assemble enough land to make this happen, right? And then once we were getting more confident, we also went to the Premier, right? And this was in the summer of last year, 2024, where we first started having talks about this project. And we had, it's not black and white. It doesn't suddenly come overnight. We were just having discussions. And then it became concrete enough for the Premier to publicly comment on this at the start of the summer of this year, right? Where he said, look, now they have large enough of land. We're getting more concrete. Now we can, well, I'm not putting words in his mouth, but it's more or less he said, like, look, now it's serious enough for me to consider this as something really viable, right? And that's when
Janssens, I wanted to interject something here, because I guess for the listening public, sometimes when we speak, it's best to put certain things into context and some of the transparency. The real estate person that you speak of, or the real estate company, seemingly it's one real estate agency that is was mainly responsible for that land search that you were talking about. And it happens to be an agency run by the wife of the Premier. How coincidental is that it's her, and you're saying that they didn't even know what you were doing in terms of buying the lands?
No, they didn't, and we didn't tell them, right? So, of course, it became clear after a while, but initially we didn't tell anyone, including real estate agents that we work with, what it was for. No, we just started optioning land. And also you have to realize Nevis has about 12,000 people, right? It's not like there's 100 real estate agencies, right? There's only a couple that you can work with, and a couple of them are very qualified, right? There's not like 100 you can choose from. With the best agencies, and that's it. It's not because.
So what was the reason? What was the reason for not
of conflict of interest in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, if the smaller your population becomes, the more you always have a risk for a conflict of interest. If you have like 1,000 people living on an island, everyone knows everyone. It's always fully conflict of interest, right? If you're a small population, like 10,000 people, you'll always have some potential conflict of interest, because maybe your brother is in parliament. It's very hard for us to avoid, because we didn't choose real estate agents based on the connections, right? We just chose them for the qualities. And I mean, that it's also, and just take this a step further, right? Even if there was like a conflict of interest, right? There's no, I mean, you still have a cabinet to work with. The cabinet will look at that, right? So it's going to be not looked at by one person, which is the king of this thing, right? It's many other people. If somehow this would not be a sound proposal because there was one real estate agent involved that had a potential conflict of interest, which I never played out in any way, right? And then, yeah, of course, you will still have so many people that still have to approve that. So it's not like you have a king and then he decides. This is not the case. So I would be less concerned because there's so many eyes on this that this is not the case, right? And I can tell you honestly, there's nothing there, right? I'm very careful because I know, like political influence, stuff like that. I'm very worried about that. We don't want to go there. So we don't touch that. We're just, negotiating real estate deals, right? And that's it. I mean, there's no quid pro quo type of deal,
Okay, we just want to let the listening and viewing audience know we're going to open up the lines now. But remember, when you call in, you have 10 seconds to ask 1 or 2 quick questions. So have your questions prepared, be concise, please, so we can accommodate as much calls. My WhatsApp is not working properly, so I appreciate if you call. And WhatsApp overseas, Yahsonn phone. But the local calls, I can accommodate the local calls, and Yahsonn can probably accommodate the calls overseas if that makes sense. So remember, the numbers across the screen, the 662-7196, that is for the local calls, and the next number is for the overseas, the 665-8459. We have a call coming in. Let me take the first call now. Yahsonn?
Okay. Yeah, but while you're taking the call, before we get to that, let me just ask.
Hold on there, Yahsonn. Hello, caller? Hello? Yes, go ahead. You're live. Oi. wrong call. That's sorry about that. Go ahead, Yahsonn.
Yes. What do you say to the critics? As you would have mentioned earlier that you're a Nevision, and you thought that you're a Nevision. You have been a Nevision for over 8 years. What do you say to the critics who say, well, I mean, if you've been a Nevision for so long, I mean, a lot of these projects that you're looking to work with the government now, you could have already assisted and invested in some, or have you invested in any project, so to speak, to enhance Nevis that we don't know about?
Yeah, I sort of actually like that in a way because it's like, I would have loved to do already a lot more, right? And, I did small things here and there. I don't want to be public about that, but, it's really, I think this is the biggest thing I can do, right, for St. Kitts and Nevis and the whole Caribbean. So you have to understand this has been in the works for almost, like, I don't know, this doesn't happen overnight. It has been years of work I already put in there to prepare for all of this, right? The whole legislation and code we have in mind is, takes years to build this. So it's really... and I'm not talking about legislation from the government, the SSE Act. I'm talking about the internal destiny legislation because people will pull that out of context too, probably. But anyway, it doesn't get built. It's been a lot of work, trust me. It's been 24/7 for years to get to this point. It's been incredibly difficult, but I really believe that we can give back to the island in unprecedented ways. You will all get a share of the profit. I would love to also talk about the system we have in place because we're ready to go live with that, right? For example, the 5% to give back, and which is a good question, by the way. How do we start giving back immediately?
Wait.
Before you touch the 5%, Yahsonn, let me get a caller in, Yahsonn. Let me get this caller on, and then you can touch the 5%. Caller, can you go ahead, please?
Yes. Hi, my name is Omar Robinson. Born condition here from St. Kitts and Nevis. I want Mr. Oliver to emphasize on the residential aspect that he's working on.
Can you raise your voice, please? Can you speak up louder?
Yeah, could you hear me now?
Yeah, speak up. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I want him to emphasize or give us a breakdown of what your destiny idea would be for residential, for petitions, divisions, coming to have either instead of just working and being a part of whatever department, restaurant or whatever, we want them to focus on the residential where we could live there.
Thank you, caller.
Housing for petitions and divisions.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. You got that?
Yeah, I got that. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, absolutely. I would love for Kititians and Nevisians to live in Destiny, right, and buy residences there. It's completely open, so you can please, if you want to come. Also, Destiny is completely open, right? Yeah, you go to a security check, like in the Four Seasons, but it's not closed to the public. Everything remains open. We want people to come there all the time. It's part of Nevis, not like a separate enclave or some special place where you cannot come. It's not like a gated community which is completely privatized. Absolutely not. It's the opposite. We want people to come over there and enjoy the improved beaches, which will be incredibly beautiful. I think it will uplift the whole island, and it will be incredible. And it's part of you. It's for everyone. We're just Can I go into the 5% really quick? What I want to say about 5%. So we will, good idea, right? Giving back immediately. How do we do that? Because, yeah, of course, I would like to have done it already, like earlier, but we're still constrained. We don't have an agreement yet. So what I said is, okay, it might take a couple of years before we start generating profit as Destiny, right? So what do we do for the people in the meanwhile? So my proposal was, let's already fund the profit tank, so to speak, right, with 1 million right away today, and let's continue doing 1 million a year into this profit fund, and start paying it out to people immediately. So if you have 5%, that basically means you can get like $30 EC a month. We start that tomorrow, so to speak, and you will get that until we make a profit. And the moment we make a profit as Destiny, obviously it will become much more. It will have as a potential to become hundreds of dollars or beyond. And this will be started the moment we get permission from the government. I would love to start that today, but unfortunately, you need a license to be able to send money to people. And I'm going to ask the government for an exemption where we can start doing that immediately, because we have the system in place where people can install an app on the phone and they can, or get a credit card, and they get the money paid every month into their account, and they can spend it anywhere they want. I would love to do that immediately, right? This is how we give back. And once we start making a profit, that money will increase substantially. Also, sort of as a sign-up bonus, I would love to give $100 to everyone just to install the thing and start using it. But again, I cannot launch that until we have some permission. But this is a way to give back immediately. I would love to do that right away.
I know earlier you mentioned, you keep referring to $50 million. $50 million. How did that go? How you gonna give that money? How you will be making all these money to be doing all these things? Giving $50 million, giving 5%, giving 20%. How will this money end up within the NIA? Because remember, if this is a CBI project, the money have to go through the federal government, where they have to share the you see what I mean? The money is not like the money staying in Nevis. They still have to go over to St. Kitts, where the money got to share at the paratum, something like that. You understand? It's not like, oh, Nevis hold the money in a work. So how would all this money end up in Nevis? To give them all this money?
Yeah, the CBI is outside of the 50 million, right? It's separate. So the CBI income, Nevis will probably get 25% of that. I don't know. CBI income is potentially $500 million or more dollars coming into CBI when we sell this amount of units. 25% of that will go to Nevis. But of course, the 50 million is not dependent on sales, because the concern of the government was, for example, well, if you don't sell a lot, how do we get any money? Because you can promise 20% profit, you can promise a CBI income, but if you don't sell any units, then we don't get any money. So they wanted some guarantees. So we told Nia, Nia proposed, or I don't know who came up with it exactly, but we do $50 million over the next 5 years, which means guaranteed you will get $10 million a year. No matter if we sell or make a profit, you get that money, right? On top of that, you also get the CBI income, right? This is what we have agreed so far. Again, it's not signed. This is where we are. And yeah, it's $10 million a year. Where does the money come from? Well, from the profits. And if we don't make a profit yet, it will come from me or other investors that will have to pay $10 million to the government until we make a profit to pay it with, right? We can pay them. We can afford to pay $10 million to the government a year today. That's possible for us, and we will do so. So that's not a problem.
You have a question here, caller here. Caller, go ahead. Good evening. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Bankie.
Yes, go ahead.
Thanks for having me. I would like to ask Mr. Olivier a question.
Yes, go ahead, please, quick.
Because it seems to me that there will be a lot of jobs available, and I just hear Mr. Oliver said that doing it by stages, and you have to wait until one is complete for to the other. So how much jobs will be available? What kind of jobs we're talking about, and how would it benefit us? Thank you.
All right, thanks for calling.
Yeah,
Okay.
good. Thank you.
Yes.
So how many jobs are available or will be available? Well, technically, if you have that size of a development, it will be thousands of jobs, right? That's why we already have these job openings today, because the moment the agreement is signed, we don't want to start then reaching out to people and suddenly, we need to find all the people to start working. So that's why we made a call to companies and people. If you have services to offer as a company, already let us know. We're talking to these companies. I think virtually everyone who submitted the job application, we have contacted already back. So we're talking to all of them, and we're asking them to send resumes in. So we have that data available. The moment we launch, we have people that can start working right away. We also have 2 offices opening on both islands. We have an office for Destiny opening on St. Kitts, and an office on Nevis. We're working on that right now. We already have people that can start working right now because we need people to fill those positions, right? We have several positions that we already hired for. And of course, the moment we become public, once the agreement is signed, we will have many jobs that are required and companies to help. And we also have in the agreement that we have to prioritize Nevisians and Kittitians. So whenever jobs are opened, we have to prioritize Kittitians and Nevisians, and we will, right? So we will give them first priority to work. And there's been some rumors about,
brief, okay, 10 seconds.
We can only do like gardening and stuff like that. I'm thinking like, what are you saying? That's really offensive. Like, this is insane. There's so many high quality jobs that you can do: engineering, medical stuff. That's why we also have a scholarship program, so we can help. For the current students to and the agreement there was that you have a scholarship, $1 million in scholarship funds, under the condition that after you have to come back, right, to actually work here. You don't get a scholarship and then you vanish. So it's part of the deal that you come back to work in St. Kitts and Nevis. I think that's important. I also think that so many people will come back.
Let me get the caller. Let me get this caller in, Mr. Janssens. Caller, go ahead.
Yes, quick question for Mr. Janssens. You just mentioned that an office will be opened on the island of St. Kitts and one on Nevis as well for Destiny. My question is related to that. When did have you had any discussions with the federal government about Destiny? And when did those discussions begin? Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course we had discussions with the governments. With both of them, right? So as I mentioned with the premier, the initial ideas were discussed in 2024 in the summer, and then they took more shape. It became more serious, and then we had enough land, and it was serious enough to go public. Summer 2025, sort of the summer 2025, right? But of course, we have been talking to the governments, and we will continue to do so, of course. In terms of the offices, so these offices will be job offices, and for other purposes, if people have questions about the project, they can come in, they can ask them. We want to be very transparent. As I said, please contact us, ask us all your questions. We have nothing to hide, and even if we would have something to hide, it will still become public in a parliamentary session. But again, we do not have anything to hide. I'm actually happy to be here because I want to address all the concerns of people, right? I know so yes. Much stuff going around.
One of the things that is also, I realize on the screen at the town hall, we have the air, we have the hot springs. I'm going to use a spa. One of the historical society also have some queries about the development. So how did the development and getting control of the hot spring to be a part of the spa? Within that was any collaboration with the historical society? Can I seem not to know about these things, because even myself had to go over to verify, but with someone I didn't even know about the area. So how did your company know about all this whole area where even some locals don't even know about what is on the island? How was that possible? Before you answer that, let me take this call coming in. Okay, go ahead. Answer the question. Go ahead.
Me? Okay. So yeah, for the hot springs, it was also for us a discovery, right? I think many people didn't know there were hot springs. I think it's amazing. I don't think we should, it's great. Any special place like that should be fully protected, kept open to the public, right? We already have an agreement with the government. Any historical artifacts or sugar mills, anything we that's there has to be protected, and kept open, right? There will not be nothing demolished. We also, when we had the Q&A, one of the members of the historical society, or even the chairman was there, and she told me that they have a detailed map, and I replied to her, we are happy to use that map and index everything that's there, and we will obviously protect all of that, and it will remain completely open to everyone. I mean, it's great to have that to the public. It's a great tourist attraction, right? Like the hot springs are right now. Everyone wants to visit the hot springs. For sure, this should be open.
Okay. Thank you. Have here? Can you go ahead? Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Bankie Yahsonn, Mr. Janssens.
Yes.
My question is whether this Destiny City is being done by Free Society Limited, and whether it's going to be a free private sort of
Right, thank you.
super homeowner association crossed with Monaco. And then the last question is where the idea came from that Nevis needed a Dubai. Is that from another Nevisian or from Mr. Janssens? Thank you.
I didn't get all of that, but I will try to answer as much. The first one I got about Free Society, right? No, this is completely unrelated, right? I will address the whole thing like 8 years ago. This is also Roger Ver. Roger Ver is not involved in this project. He was only informed a couple of months ago when we proposed to buy his land, which is in the south of Nevis. And then, he was made aware of the project, and he was surprised by it, right? Roger Ver was involved in the Free Society project, and me too, in like 8 years ago, where we were looking, to buy a country, basically, or to start a country. But again, I also addressed that last time. Some ideas evolve over time. Some ideas are a bit crazy, right? And you can be ambitious in your life, but you also have to face reality sometimes. And I don't think it's a viable solution. And I think with St. Kitts and Nevis, right now the agreement we have, my goal is really what I really want, and this also was my idea in general, but people really want to have a safe place to live, with strict rule of law, where they know their family can live. If you're wealthy, you'll be safe. And it's more about that for me, right? It's not about having a country whatsoever. You just need the safety. You need the right internal rules and regulations to make sure you can be safe. And that's the most important part. You don't need your own country from that. You can have a special economic zone in the world, like in the DIFC. Why is Monaco and the DIFC so attractive? And that's also answering the question why, right? The DIFC and Monaco are one of the safest places in the world. Why does it attract so many affluent individuals? Number one is safety for your family, right? When you have a family, number one you care about is my family safe? The second thing people care about, I would say, it's between weather and taxation. It's good weather and you have no taxes. Those are really important too. And I think Monaco and Dubai have both. When I'm talking about creating a new Dubai for Nevis or St. Kitts, I don't mean we want high rise or stuff like that. I'm just talking about the success and the ideas behind Dubai and Monaco, right? In Monaco, you feel super safe because it's very safe. You don't have to pay taxes. You're in a great climate. Unfortunately, Monaco is fully built. It's high rise. It's not that enjoyable to live. Dubai is way too hot, right? Is an equivalent in terms of safety and taxation and climate in the Caribbean? Right now, there is not. Right, St. Kitts and Nevis is not safe. It's pretty bad in terms of crime. And I'm just saying what's out there, right? I am not judging it. I'm just saying to attract that type of people, you need to be safe. And I really believe that the first place in the Caribbean to do something like that, and I call this the Monaco-Dubai hybrid, will be extremely successful, and no one has ever done that before. And that's why I think it's so great that we can do that. Sorry, you want to say something, Jason?
Yes. Let me take this call.
Go ahead. Okay.
Go ahead, Yahsonn.
Yeah, good afternoon. Now, my question is, talk about that you acquired. How much that have you acquired from the percentage? Thank you.
Okay. So the question is, how much land have you acquired so far in terms of percentage? In terms of what you are seeking, I think you had a number that you're looking for, and they're trying to find out how much you have acquired so far, and what percentage of the amount that you are seeking that you have acquired.
Right. Thank you for the question. I also have to nuance it a bit. Like, people ask, why do you need so much land? It's like pretty much 10% of Nevis. It's not 1/6, but it's more around 10%. If you look at the acres, the total area would be around 2,600 acres. 2,600 acres, if I'm correct. Why? Well, if you have a couple thousand units, you don't want to build that on 50 acres because then you need high rise. One of the most attractive qualities about Nevis is because it's very lush and nature based. It's a paradise. If you want to keep that feeling and have 80-90% remain nature, you need a large area, right? Like, you have a golf course to play golf, you need large fields. But anyway, this is super important to know, because if we want to keep that Nevis nice feeling, Nevis natural,
Hold on,
we
please.
need that space. And also for
I
just want to say that.
Yeah, let me.
Yeah, but I have to answer
This caller in.
Hold on, Bankie. Bankie. Let the caller hold a second.
Yeah.
Like
Mr. Janssens.
It's also undeveloped right now. There's also, right now the coast is eroding, right? And also this is not going away from Nevis, right? It remains part of Nevis. We're just improving the area. Nothing has been really renewed there. There's nothing planted there. We can make it super beautiful with amazing beaches.
Here's the difficulty, Mr. Janssens. Mr. Janssens, here's the difficulty, and I guess this is maybe why there's such a pushback. You seem to have an idea or a vision for Nevis and for developing over there, but that was not necessarily consulted with the people. Maybe the people don't necessarily want that kind of development. They were not given that opportunity to have that engagement. And it is not just 50 acres, as you're saying. It's not just 100 acres or 200 acres. You're talking 24 or 2,600 acres. Now, looking at the history of the Caribbean, looking at the history of St. Kitts and Nevis, where land and land ownership is concerned, there is also the question of, and then we look at the population, the numbers that you're speaking, people are wondering if this is a case of recolonization, where you're seeking to bring, 10 to 15,000 people in a population that is only about 13,000. You're looking at that possibility, and with that amount of land, so what do you say to that kind of critic or that kind of concern?
Yeah, I can completely understand the concern, right? I will answer all your questions, because there are a couple in there. Like, do people want development there or not? From what I heard, people, or have been asking for a road and to develop the area for a long time. So that's exactly what we're doing. The government didn't have any money to develop it. Also, we're developing this. We're distributing lands, right? We're actually, a lot of those lands, and I'm not going to give you on the phone exactly the amount, because I have to look it up myself, but a huge percentage of that land was only owned by a couple of people and companies. people don't know that. It's not like there's 1,000 people owning the land. It was just a couple of owners for a very large area. So what we're going to do is now we have that land optioned. We're going to redistribute that to the people. And I would love for Nevisians to come and, buy the land or buy property there. So this is like we're trying to, and about the colonization. Yeah, of course, I understand that a concern, right? I mean, I get that. Of course, if you're doing developments and you are attracting more people to come and live on the island, then people will move there and come there. It's also a question about the quality of the people that come. Where do you want them to come from? Do you want to have affluent individuals? Everyone in the world, not everyone, but many countries in the world are fighting to get the more wealthy people to come to their country, because it will uplift the whole of society. If you, as a society, become much better from that, I think that's the right profile to go to, right? Of course, I cannot really judge or have that's for everyone's personal opinion. Do you want more people to come to Nevis or not? Do you want to grow as an island? Do you want to only stay at 12,000 people? Or do you want to grow, right? And this is something I cannot decide, of course, for everyone. This is for every individual to decide. And I respect all decisions, because some people want to stay small, some people want to grow. But for those who want to grow, of course, I think they want to grow with the right people, with people that have been properly background checked, with safe people, with wealthy people. And that's what Destiny would do, is attract the right caliber of people.
A call coming in. Can you hold a second? Can you hold 1 second there, please? A question coming in.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yahsonn, the call I'd missed. Can you get some of the messages we had, the pre-messages and stuff like that, and some of the messages coming in online or coming in? Let me take this, then you get your Yahsonn. Caller, good evening.
Hello?
Yes, good evening. Go ahead. Yes, go ahead, please. Yes, go ahead, please. Hello?
Okay. In terms of some of the questions,
I have a call here, Yahsonn. Let me take this call. Call in. Hello?
I'd like to ask Mr. if he also is going to invest in the geothermal development.
Okay, thank you. You had a question? Go ahead.
Are we going to invest in geothermal development? I would love to invest in it. I would love to help with it. We haven't really gotten to that detail yet with the government. I know they have investments secured right now. We haven't really discussed anything around that in detail at this point. We are looking into it. And again, like I said before, Nevis always comes first. So any power you need, I think Nevis should get. If there's anything left, Destiny would love to buy that, which is great for the geothermal plant, because then the more demand you have, the more you can finance it. So we haven't gotten to the geothermal plant with the government, but it's sort of understood that we would like to use the geothermal energy, right? So anything that's remaining, that's available, we would love to use that. Also understood that the geothermal plant will also be connected to St. Kitts and to maybe even neighboring islands if there's enough energy. So of course we would love to be a customer, so to speak. And with we, I mean, just the Destiny development in general. And like I said earlier, Nevisians and Kittitians can also be fully part of that, right? And live there and have property. So it's not like, separate, in my opinion, but okay.
All right, thank you. Caller, you're on. Go ahead, please.
I'm listening to you refer to the geothermal. That's not where I was really fine. But on that topic, with the type of project that you have going there, how do you plan to supply power? Because we already are limited with the power that we have on this island. I understand now. So how, without geothermal, how do you plan to supply your project, your area, with all the things that you plan to do in that area without geothermal?
Thank you. Caller, you have 10 seconds for each question, please. You can also call back.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a next call. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Hold on.
Okay. Thank you. For the geothermal, how we will generate the rest of the energy. If you look at our plan, which are already partially made public, and we will make it more public even, a lot of that comes from solar. So we will go for as much solar as possible, solar roofs, solar canopies, roads being covered with solar canopies. From that alone, we will generate a lot of solar energy combined with batteries. We estimate that will be also a big part of it. I'm not a fan of wind energy, honestly, because that's not very efficient. It's also ugly. No one wants windmills to look at or have the noise of that. They're not very profitable. But when it comes to solar, geothermal, fully on board with that. And of course, we will try to help the government, get that geothermal up and running as soon as possible. But of course, that's up to the government, right? That's their project, and we will try to support it as much as we can. Also, one thing, just
Yes, you have any call there?
I would love to.
Yes, you have any call. Caller?
Yes,
go ahead.
Yeah, you're live. Go ahead.
Caller, live.
Another question.
Yes, go ahead, caller. You're live.
Yeah. He said,
if the government backs out now, so the contract, if the government still able to pay, if you already spent all of this money on your own. Thank you.
Well, repeat the question, caller.
My question is, all the money that has already
all the money that he has already been invested in the SSD, yes.
Yeah, and the contract hasn't been signed yet. That's what you said. If the government...
Caller, go ahead, please.
Yes. No.
Wait, Bankie, we have a caller, Bankie.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. I would like to know why was there a need for an SSV bill? Okay, couldn't this development happen without? And I think it's the exclusive nature of it where very rich people will come in to live among us, or rather away from us, separated from us, rather than among us. Can there be, or would it be open to having special concessions for locals to be able to live in the zone as well?
Thank you, caller.
Right.
Thank you.
Shall I go to the first, because I wrote them all down? The first question was...
yes, go ahead, please. Yes, go ahead.
How much money was invested up to date? I would say at least $20 million, probably more by now, 25. Because as you see, the development plans and the master plans we presented are very advanced. So they cost a lot of money. We already have a lot of research done in the area and all the data surrounding that. Has the contract been signed yet? No, there's no contract been signed yet, which already mentioned, right, the agreement. If there's an agreement signed, it will appear first in front of Parliament for everyone to look at, judge it, and only when Parliament approves it in Parliament, an agreement will be activated. Right? That's the way it is right now.
The second part of the question was, what happens if the government does not sign or does not agree, and you have already spent all that money? What happens?
That's the risk of doing a project like that. It's unfortunate, then we will have to go somewhere else, right? We have other places in the Caribbean that are potentially candidates, but I'm loyal to Nevis and I would love to do it here. I think the worst thing that would happen is that we go somewhere else, it becomes a huge success, and everyone's like, okay, we should have done this. And I'm like, yeah, I tried to tell you, but I want to avoid that. I really want to have people give all the facts. They can look at them objectively, judge on their own, and then they can say, we like it, we don't like it. As again, nothing has been signed yet. We'll be fully transparent. You can judge everything as you like, and you're the judge. And of course, the government has to then approve it or not, right?
All right. Thank you very much for your response. I guess you had a question from Bankie's side now, I think.
Yes, I have a call there. Caller, go ahead, please.
I still have some questions to answer from the previous one. I wrote them down.
can you raise your voice, please, and be brief?
I am one of the landowners Mr. Janssens is talking about, and I resent his implication that he's going to be speaking to the people of Nevis. We are the people of Nevis. It's the same thing our premier tried to say about the 10 individuals who have tied up 1,500 acres of land. And they are to make such an assertion. Have a good night.
All right, thank you, caller.
Sorry, I didn't hear. No, I couldn't.
He was saying he's one of the landowners and stuff. He was speaking of one of the owners. Was there any plan to have a meeting with any of the landowners here, and why did not that happen?
A meeting with the landowners in the area, right?
Yes. Yes.
We talk to them all the time because we have our people that are trying to acquire the land reach out and discuss. So some of them became good friends. Some of them are opposed. Some of them are in favor. It depends a bit what exactly you would like. If you send us his name, we can definitely get in touch with him and ask what his concerns are. Anyway, I also have a couple of other questions, by the way, I wrote down, right? The other one was about, from the previous call, about the SSZ bill, but I didn't really fully understand that one, if you remember it. Sorry, like the other question I do remember, it's about...
Let me take this call here. Caller, go ahead, please.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Yes.
Question for Mr. Janssens. Mr.
Yes.
Janssens stated that he cared about divisions, right?
Yes.
So much. Why buy out the land instead of partnering with the private owners so they could create generational wealth? It would be more beneficial to partner with the private owners, which are divisions. And that's all. Thank you
very much.
So basically what he's asking, if people own land in the area, right, are you open to a partnership? In the agreement right now with the government, we have to have a contract to acquire the land first before it becomes part of the zone, right? There's been no debate on partnership. Also, it's a good question. We don't really get that question that much. It looks people are more open to either selling or optioning, right? And yeah, if you want to partner, that also means you have to believe in the project and take a risk with that. So I mean, for those that are interested in that, we can have a separate discussion with them individually, right? We're not saying no to anything, but of course it comes with more risk because that basically means you're betting that we will succeed. And there's no, anyway, I'm not going to go into many details. But we also offer people land swaps, right? We offer them 1.5 times the land. Also, have one question about the...
Yes, let me make this the last call, and then we take some of the questions that we have, the some of the comments them, and hold the call for 5 minutes after we take these calls. So,
yeah, thank you.
Okay, so we get...
Good evening, caller. Go ahead.
Yes, quickly, firstly, the discussions that the gentleman said that was involved with the federal government, did those discussions involve the Prime Minister? If so, secondly, is there any out clauses, the buyer and seller agreements, is there any out clauses there? And lastly, the persons that buy into the Destiny region, if they don't, I hear the Premier say, like in terms of them applying for citizenship, can he go into detail about that? How are those persons going to become citizens if they're going to apply for, economic citizens to the CBI? And if they don't, what's going to happen to those persons if they don't? And I'll leave it there. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Let me take in this question, this caller one time. Caller, go ahead, please.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you raise your voice a little more? You go ahead.
Yeah, so it was a question for Mr. Janssens. So, Mr. Janssens, you said earlier that the Destiny proposal has taken years to build and has been a lot of work for you. Why then are you only now consulting with the people of why not years ago before you put in the work?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll answer that question first, right? Because we had no idea yet where we will end up with the government, right? What's possible. So only now we know what the details are in terms of $50 million profit share, CBI revenue. I mean, this only has been negotiated recently. Like half a year ago, I couldn't give you all those details yet. So of course, it's always happy to say like afterwards, well, why don't you say that like a couple of years before? But a couple of years before, we didn't even know yet if we could have enough land. So I don't want to, if we had this problem in the past. You go to, I don't know, a government or a population, and then you propose something. No one will listen to you because no one takes you serious, right? Like, who are you? Like, do you have any land? So it's not that simple. Of course, I would love to consult with people, and that's what we're doing right now. And most importantly, right, there's no concern in regards to nothing has been decided. It's not like some decisions have been made. You're being consulted now at a point in time where it's concrete enough to consult, and where you can have your opinion shared and your concerns raised, which I think is great. Because as I mentioned earlier, if I was you and I would believe all the rumors, I would be extremely concerned and I'm very upset emotionally, because if you hear the rumor about 10,000 libertarians coming, which completely false, I would also be, like, what is this? This is. But I already said that that's completely not true. So I am very happy that we have this conversation, because again, I think it would be very unfortunate that people are so misinformed that they have judgments about the projects which are not based on facts, and then you lose out on something amazing. The good thing is you don't have to believe me, right? What I say will be public in Parliament soon enough, where you can look at the agreements, you can look at the Code of Destiny, what it looks like. You can have your judgments before it's passed. There will be full transparency. Nothing is decided, nothing is signed, nothing has been agreed on. So I think this is the right time and place to do these discussions. But unfortunately, a lot of rumors have been spread, and it's also partially us to blame, because we can only share so much at some point in time. But now we're sharing as much as we can. I hope people can really take the time to look at everything, what's really out there factually, not based on the rumors. Look at what's really there. We can also please contact us by email on the website. At the bottom of our website, you have the contact information. I have one more question I wrote down about rich among us versus separate, right? Destiny is very much part of Nevis, right? It's not a separate enclave like I mentioned before. The whole idea is that people coming there, that they become part of everything, and that not going to be some separation. Like, Destiny is completely open to the public, it's part of Nevis. And yes, there are internal rules, regulations, but those are still bound by the Constitution of St. Kitts and Nevis. The higher court in St. Kitts and Nevis has full oversight of any decisions. The public prosecutor, right, can take over any court case in Destiny at any point in time for whatever reason. So there's many safeguards in place. Destiny is not a state within a state. It's an advanced special economic zone, like there's many in the world. But also, like I wanted to say, doing another 3-4 seasons on the island, that's not going to be attractive, right? The Four Seasons to the east side of the Four Seasons, there's land for sale. But the Four Seasons is not buying those lands because they don't want to expand anymore. They reached their limit. So if you want to attract more investment, more development, you have to do something different. This is what Destiny will do. It will play more into the special economic zone aspect, like the Dubai International Financial Center, which was very successful. It uplifted the whole area of the Middle East into something amazing, very successful. So doing the same concept like Monaco or Dubai, without becoming a country, just to be clear.
Hold on a second here, Mr. Janssens, 1 second. Because in your speaking about this development, I am not hearing anything about any hotels. And in the Premier's presentation, he would have spoken to at least 3 name brand hotels which would be a part of this development. But all I'm hearing from you is more of a housing, condo, residential type setting. So can you clarify that?
Yeah, that's not true. I mean, it's both, right? We have residentials and we have hotels. We have hotels lined up. I cannot give the names yet because we need to have an agreement in place. but we have very, very good quality hotels that are, I mean, we're very happy with that. They are visiting and will continue to visit Nevis to see the viability. And I think we have several hotels that will do it. And then there will be good names. And I think you will be very happy with those. Also, we have not just the hotel as a hotel, but also branded residential neighborhoods where you have a hotel brand as part of the hotel service for those villas, right? So we have that too. Sorry.
Yeah, and earlier you mentioned about the crime rate in St. Kitts Nevis is very high, but I mean we have one of the best and lowest crime rate in the world. So I mean, I don't know why would you say something like that, because you're still being here to do a development. If this, I mean, how would you want to encourage people to have such a development? Because there's other places have really, really, really much. You know what I mean? You see how peaceful the place is. So I really had to want you to retract that, because that really was not something good to say. I mean, we have such a high crime rate and all this stuff, and you want to make an investment. So,
I think it's pretty bad. I mean, that's from the data
pretty bad.
I looked
What do you mean pretty bad?
Sorry?
Go ahead. Go ahead. You say it's pretty bad. Go ahead.
No, it's one of the high risk nation for murder, for example, right? The rate is not good. If you look at statistics independently, it's not good. I mean, but yeah, you look at the data yourself, right?
So why would you invest in a place like this if that is the case in your perspective? Why would you invest in a place like this in such a high statistic?
Oh, but well, I want to make St. Kitts and Nevis better, right? That's I mean, I want to improve it and help to make it. So of course, why wouldn't I invest? It's like you invest in places which can, if it's already perfect, you know what can you do? So I would just like to help it out to make it better. I mean, if it was perfect, then I wouldn't need to invest in it, right?
So by investing in it, that's gonna how that gonna bring down the crime rate, and so how is that gonna work? Because no, you mentioned that. So how you're gonna sell this for those who want to come and invest? So how that gonna bring down the crime rate, make it a safer place? How is that gonna work?
Yeah. So as I mentioned before, and now maybe I go into slightly more detail. Is Destiny has an internal code, right? An internal body of law, which is, by the way, fully subject to the Constitution of St. Kitts and Nevis. As I mentioned earlier, the higher courts will always be St. Kitts and Nevis. The public prosecutor can always take over any case. But if you go below that on a local level, you have the lower courts, which can be very efficient. And what usually happens in special economic zones is you have lower courts, which are local, with their own little regulations there. And those rules and regulations will be transparent in Parliament, by the way. You can look at them before they are approved. So you can see like, oh, do you like them? Do you not like them? And that's also how we will make sure it's very safe. You have internal security, which will be very strict. And if you then
but that is inside the zone. But that is inside the zone. What about the other part of Nevis? You're talking about inside the zone where you have your own security, your citizens and yourself. Well, what about the rest of Nevis that is your concern of? So how are you going to help that part of Nevis, the rest of us who is not inside the zone?
It's a great question, and I'm not going to name names, but I talked with some people in government around the same question, right? It's a good question. How do you? I hope that if Destiny is an example how things work better, and I'll give you an example. Right now, some of the code in St. Kitts and Nevis is very outdated. Right? For example, you still have witchcraft as a crime. Right? It's a very outdated code, and I hope that code can in the future be renewed to be put up to international standards, and maybe they can borrow some from the Destiny code. I don't know. Right? It's something. That we would love to help with, but of course the government has to improve those things, and maybe we can help serve as an example how that can be done. I don't know. It's more a federal question, right? How do you improve that? But maybe by leading by example. I don't know. It's a good question.
Okay, Bankie, I got a comment.
Go ahead, Yahsonn. Yes.
Ola, go ahead.
Yes, I have a couple of questions for Mr. Janssens.
Yeah, but you have to be brief, though, right, Carla? You have to be very brief, about 20 seconds.
Yes. Your story about your proposal continues to shift every time we hear you present. And that really concerns me as a Nevisian who's living in the diaspora. First of all, why is it this project hasn't been tried in other places, as in your home country? That's one. Two, why is it Nevisians have to be relocated for this project as opposed to living inside the zone? And three, my last question, have you had time to really read and dissect the responses or the feedback from institutions such as the Chamber of Commerce? There's an 11-page document that I think that you need to, if you haven't done so yet, to brief yourself and make yourself aware of the concerns raised on this project.
Can I ask you a question, Scholar, about while you're still on the line? Can you tell me which story exactly has shifted?
First of all, we heard about sustainable zone. We heard about hospitals. First of all, Mr. Janssens, there has been a lot of secrecy around your project. That's the first thing. And the reason why you're frustrated, because I've heard you mention this in your presentation at the Palms, one of the reasons why you're frustrated, because this was done in secrecy, and somehow I think I got the impression that you thought, or the developers thought, that they would just walk into Nevis and Nevisians would accept whatever they're proposing, because somehow you and the developers know what is best for Nevis. And so you're getting a lot of pushback where that is concerned. We are an intelligent people, and we know the thinking of many expats, including yourself, when it comes to Black people. I'm going to be very blunt with you. And so you are expressing frustration because you expected it, and you have made comments on other websites, on social media, that you did not expect this response from the leaders of the government. But somehow you didn't consult the citizens before. And so you thought that it was going to be a piece of cake, walking into Nevis and acquiring all these lands, which was done under secrecy, by the way. Okay. If this story was not exposed, the secrecy would have continued. And so there's a lack of trust in what you're presenting to the people in Nevis. And your storyline keeps shifting. What is really happening? Every time you get pushback,
there's nothing that shifted. Tell me the storyline that shifted.
From what the Nevisian public is saying, the proposal changes. And when are you going to present the full proposal to the Nevisian public? So we're getting bits and pieces of information, nothing that is really coherent. And you think that the people are supposed to willingly accept what you're presenting.
Okay, 10 more seconds, Carla.
My concern is this. Why didn't you try this in Belgium or some European country? Why the Caribbean? Because you clearly stated on your websites that you had before that you all are seeking governments that are broke, vulnerable governments. And you cannot deny that because that was stated on your website.
Okay, thank you, Carla.
Yes, and I just want to say, tell Mr. Janssens, for the year already, we already have a 75% in crime reduction, in murder reduction, in the reduction rate. So I think we're doing very fine. I'm not sure if you know about that statistic. So it's showing how peaceful the place is. So I just wanted to put that inside there with the reduction, 75% when it comes to homicides. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Gaur. I understand your frustrations. You know, I think you're putting some words in my mouth, but I will just go with it, right? In terms of me being frustrated, or as you said, I think it's more about misconceptions that were rumors were spread around, which I already said, right? There are very valid concerns from the people, and I think they're good concerns, because if I would be hearing all of these rumors, I would be very concerned myself, right? That's why I'm trying to get the facts out there. I'm not trying to judge on anything. I think it's great because we want to have these discussions, and I'm not here to fight you whatsoever. It's quite the opposite. I really believe that if people fully understood the project and what's in front of us today, most people will really like it, right? But it's just a matter of looking at everything, having all the facts. We will be fully transparent. We are fully transparent, but we will be, like I said earlier, there's no real secrecy from our side. It's only how much can we disclose while we're still under negotiations with the government, because it might all change tomorrow. So, as I said earlier, this is the first time an agreement becomes publicly debated before it's even agreed. Like the Four Seasons, no one has even seen that agreement, right? So we always have to strike a balance about, how much can I say right now? Some of the things are new that were only maybe discussed a couple of weeks ago, or even more recent, like the $50 million. A couple of months ago, I couldn't tell you that yet, right? Because we're still talking to the government. We try to be as transparent as possible. And I think it's now also the time where we are so concrete that I think we're hopefully close to a final agreement that we can start sharing that information. I would love to share everything very soon. Again, you don't have to worry in terms of anything being signed or agreed upon. The government will make everything public very soon when it goes to Parliament. People will be able to fully scrutinize it before it's even passed by Parliament. If it is passed, Parliament will give your opinion, get your opinions, will get the opinions of the opposition. You can look at all the facts and the data then. I'm not worried about anything about the past. I already addressed that and all the other claims. So I don't want to go too much into it, but I think I already addressed those concerns. In terms of what was it? There's no people being relocated. There's no one that lived there. I mean, no one gets relocated. I'm not sure where you got the idea from that we're relocating people. So people can completely stay.
I think what he's trying to say, you may say nobody's living there, but when they say relocated, I guess what they're looking at, instead of working along with the people who have lands in the area and seeking to maybe involve them in the project where they can benefit or be of equity or whatever, in that case, you're seeking to relocate them to some other place by offering them land outside of the zone. I think that's what they're trying to get at. But while you look at that, there is a caller on the line, and so let me have the caller waiting. Caller, you'll just have about 10-20 seconds to just make your questions, and then, because we have a lot of callers waiting, a lot of comments to go through as well. So, quickly.
Okay. Janssens, how do you answer the persons who feel like this was targeted because the government is not able to either get foreign direct investment or finish projects that they have started for years? Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't fully get that.
He was saying, how do you respond to the fact that it seems as if the government was targeted because they were not finishing projects and they were not being able to attract foreign direct investment, and so it was, I guess, basically saying it's like an opportunity for something like this to pop in and assist the government in that regard. So it's more of an opportunistic, not necessarily really wanting to help the people, but necessarily seeing the opportunity to jump in because the government is cash strapped.
Oh, I see. Well, I think we're the first development that gives 20% directly to the government, 5% directly to the people. I think we're trying to help people as much as possible in terms of the government doing this because they're cash strapped, sort of like as like a Hail Mary or whatever. I think it's if you bring this to any other government in the Caribbean and they look at this objectively, I think they will all be extremely interested in this, right? You have to. I don't think this is out of. I would be very. I think it would not be good if a government would do this out of desperation, right? And I would also question why would this even be like a desperate thing? Because there's no bad things here being done, right? There's nothing being taken from anyone, right? It's just you're doing a special economic zone. Like there's so many around the world, and it will be a great opportunity for St. Kitts and Nevis. The special economic zone is not something that's crazy, right? It's not like some desperation idea. it's of course it's a tool for governments to improve the lives of people and the GDP, and it special economic zones bring a lot of value to countries, right? So I would assume and I would hope that the government does this because it's a healthy decision for a country to make, not because they're strapped for cash, if that makes any sense.
Yahsonn, let me get in some of the question them, please. Well, we at it, and hold the cards there, some of the questions. You mute, Yahsonn.
You're mute. Yes, I have gotten that. In terms of the question, okay, here's where the question.
Just check the UN chat, Yahsonn, for the pre-posed question.
Yeah, that's what I'm speaking to open up.
Yes. So, Mr. Janssens, while we're at it, tuning in, just one, they're listening to the developer for the SSZ over on the south side. Great appreciate him coming on Real Entertainment Network. Always, folks, remember to subscribe and like, so that this Wednesday cover and listen for you with Charles McWilliam, and then Friday with Professor Knife out of will speak economics and how we can diversify agriculture, and when it comes to tourism, compare to diversify our economy. Yahsonn, you ready?
Okay, yes. So we have some questions. Okay, well, one, why Nevis? I think you would have answered that already. Who approached you about the South Coast? That's one of the questions. What other projects has you been a part of? Well, and somebody asked this already, why not in your own country? What would it take for you to abandon this project? Another, have you ever been in Nevis or on Nevis? Why have you never contributed to Nevis before? Who crafted the SSZ legislation? So those are some of the questions. What other Caribbean countries have you approached or has approached you? Who are the other major investors?
Okay, yeah. that's enough. Let you get a chance to answer some of those, and then you can continue if you choose to.
Yeah, I know. I wrote a couple of them down, right? And so, can you ask the first one again, because it's
okay. So
the South Coast? No one approached about the South Coast. I mean, there was no one that said like go to the South Coast. No, I just looked at Nevis and was like, the South Coast is not really developed right now. I think it's a good opportunity, right? And also it turned out that like a lot of land was owned by a handful of owners. So not all of it, obviously. There's definitely a lot of smaller parcels, but like more towards the east, it's very large parcels that are owned by a handful of owners. So yeah, next one.
What would it take for you to abandon this project?
Yeah. I think if you really and I know it's sort of emotional too, right? People like I mentioned before, and I can keep repeating it. I'm very worried right now. People have heard a lot of rumors that are not really true. Again, like, you know, the 10,000 libertarians coming is completely false. We're going to be a family-based project. We're not here to start a new country. We're not a state within a state. There's so many things I can keep debunking, but I don't think it's useful. So you also don't have to believe me. I think some people at the point where they probably don't trust what I say because they think I have some bad agenda, right? So it's like, okay, don't trust me, but at least look at the documents and the agreements that will become public. And you know, before they're passed in Parliament, you can look at them all. You can look at the actual facts, and then you can see what's true. And I just want to be people be aware of that, right? I just ask you, okay, if I said it earlier, if I would have heard what I've heard in terms of rumors, I would also be very concerned and upset, right? The good news is that it's not true, and the good news is that you don't have to trust me what I say, because you can look at it all yourself very soon, and you can judge it. And if you like it, then you like it. If you don't, you don't. What would it take? If the government says no and everyone else says no, and I would be surprised, then why would we do it? Then we do it somewhere else. But I would love for Nevis to be the place. And again, it's like if someone comes with a special economic zone, like there are so many. Let's say the Four Seasons come with something similar, right? Like a special economic zone for the Four Seasons. Would it then be like, what would it take the Four Seasons to abandon the project? I think we are the first company ever, development company in Nevis and St. Kitts ever, to be fully transparent about everything, having discussions up front. There's limitations put in place for the SSZ Act, right? Again, the SSZ Act is a way to limit things. It's not a way to enable things, because they could have passed the Destiny Act without the SSZ Act and put everything from the SSZ Act in a Destiny specific act. And, it could have been passed maybe in August, and there wouldn't even have been an SSZ Act. So the SSZ Act, what it did instead, it was look at everything and put limitations in place. Right? It says like, okay, you have to have 70% from renewables. You have to abide by this. Everything has to appear in front of Parliament, which is great. I love it. All transparency. And maybe I should wrap up with this because I'm getting pretty tired. But in the end, I really want everyone to. I want to have full transparency, to have everyone look at the agreement, they make an informed decision. And nothing has been signed yet, so you don't have to worry. You can look at everything yourself. You can look at all our reports, data, EIAs, how we're going to get our energy, the rain, the water, everything, and also the agreement itself. You can look at the Code of Destiny, how the internal rules work, how we're still bound by the Constitution of St. Kitts and Nevis, how the courts of St. Kitts and Nevis have the ultimate authority, how the Department of Public Prosecutions can take over any case. That's full authority. So in terms of risk, I don't think it's a big risk, right? But again, it's up to you to judge. You can look at everything, and then you can give feedback to
one of the thing that I want to mention is that this development have caused a lot of controversy, where you end up into name calling, Columbus, Barabbas. Yeah. So nowadays, two different teams is split within the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. You have Team Jesus and you have Team Barabbas. So this is where I'm trying to say. This is where you see the legal fraternity have come in, the Angelical Association, the Chambers of Commerce. These are not just blue or yellow or red or green or anything like that. These are genuine natives, people who have genuine concern. So I understand you're investing in development. So how does something like this, when it's the legal fraternity, the Attorney General, the one the way the bill was crafted in his office, his own father, which is a KC, a King's Counsel, is against and have issues with this thing. So how do you look at this when you have a wide spectrum of the society against something like this and want it to slow down and bring more questions and answers to the people?
Yeah, it's the same. It's even with those bodies, so to speak, or those very prominent people, they still don't have all the information. They are basing, like I said, valid concerns. Fully appreciate them, but they're basing those concerns on many rumors that are not really true. I think once they see all the agreements, once everything is public, then they can look at it and voice concerns. I think all those concerns are made very preliminary. I would love to talk to all of them. I invite them, come over. We're very open, transparent. Please contact us by email. Some already did. Some of the people you mentioned already contacted us. We will talk to them. We will explain everything. We're very happy. I welcome transparency, right? I would love to
what is happening here is that we're working backwards. The project should have come to the people, where discuss, have town hall, but instead an act was passed, and then now we're going out to the people to have discussion, so you can understand the confusion. So why didn't that happen first? Why they had to force the act?
Oh no, I I would have loved to give a town hall already months ago. I proposed it, right, with the government. I said, like, can we do a town hall? And they said, well, we're not, the government has to be ready too. I would have done a town hall.
So the issue is the government then. So the issue was the government. The issue was not you.
I'm not blaming anyone.
So the issue was the government.
We have no.
So the government is the problem. So you just admit the government is the problem then.
Okay, question, Mr. Janssens, right? As we get into that, here's a question. Because I think there is that lingering thing that needs to be sorted out, in the sense that, on one side we're hearing, well, it's only a minority that is saying that they don't want the project, and then on another side you're hearing, well, you're getting opposition from all walks of life. As a matter of fact, generally when you have issues on St. Kitts and Nevis, you might hear people make noise for 9-10 days and so on, and then the issue has died down. But this issue has not died. This issue has seemingly caught even more momentum. Now, we on the platform, because of having we have had an interview with the Premier himself, and we are now having an interview with you. Then, when we spoke to the Premier would have, been on the side that is only a minority that is doing it. Now, we're doing a poll here on this network, Real Entertainment Network, to find out if the people wants the SSZ and the Destiny don't want it. So we are actually doing our poll here on Real Entertainment Network. We spoke about the referendum. You said, well, you don't know, but a poll can work as well. Now, if we
did a poll too.
Okay, so we're going to do a poll, and if you get the feedback that majority of the people is not for this project, what do you say? What would you do?
It's very interesting, because I saw the poll in your Facebook, right? And it was, I don't know, it was something crazy. Like 80% was against. We did our poll with the people directly, and I would say it's much different for our internal polling, which is also pretty objective. The majority was for. There's definitely a percentage against. I would say 30% is against, maybe 40% is for, and then you have a lot of undecided, right? But I would say it's 40 for this 30, and this is also with the data that's out there. Like it's with all the concerns and rumors that are there. I think once people really know the facts, because I don't think also online, if I would look online, I would think, if I'm in the diaspora, right, looking outside of Nevis, looking in, and I'm looking at Facebook, I would think it's a complete disaster what's happening. They're like, everyone is against this. But if you go talk to the people, so many people are for this project. We already have like more than 1,000 job applications from Kittitians and Nevisians. People are so eager for this to come. They're so happy, right? But you only hear the people that are against it, like speaking very loudly. It's such a joy for me to talk to people who want this to come with the jobs and everyone. The people that have businesses in St. Kitts and Nevis, they love it. It's for me, I hear both sides. I know the other side. You don't probably see that online, because most of the complainers are online. I don't see many people saying online, oh yeah, we want this. No, it's most people, the most vocal people, and you see this everywhere, or those that are against something. So I think the reality is very different from what you see online. I really hope the diaspora and everyone outside of Nevis will really understand at one point it's not the real picture of what's happening in the island, right? It's absolutely different.
With that said, I know you said a bit earlier that you're getting a bit tired, so we would want to know if you're going to give us the guarantee that when we call on you again, because you see that there's a need for you to do this, and there's a lot of questions that we would have had on the line that we really didn't get answered and so on. I'm sure there's a lot more people who would like to call in and so on. Are you going to give us that guarantee that you'll be able to come back on this platform in the not distant future and have maybe sessions like this again?
I would love to. I also thank you for being great hosts. I mean, I wanted to, the reason why I came on this show was I also know a lot of opposition is going to come on. I welcome the opposition. I welcome the tough questions. I don't want to take an easy path for my first interview, right? I want to go where the hardcore stuff is, because I really want to talk to people that are against it, because I want to tell them, look, sorry.
So all the opposition come. So all the opposition come to come to our podcast.
I don't know, but at least I think you're you're not gonna shy away from it. From what I understood online, people really, I think the questions
Well,
that
we
were
have
asked.
everyone listen to the shows. I mean, I don't know everyone who listen and tune in and stuff like that. Sometimes they made their comments and but I mean, we appreciate. I mean, you coming and choosing us as the first person to interview you. We really appreciate it. You understand?
Thank
You could
you.
have said no, or just want to big up Elmes and Stephanie. You understand, for reaching out to answering me and coming and meeting up with me and the farm and stuff like that. So and also thank you for coming, and definitely we'll reach out to you again, and definitely before at least if any changes made within before the year finish or early in the new year, and have you back on and give us an update if anything work out and so forth. Yes, son?
I would love that.
Yes, definitely. We would love to have you back. I think that you would have answered a lot of questions and have cleared the air on a number of things in this first session. I do want to apologize to many of the folks who would have put their questions in prior and we didn't get to some of them or a lot of them. Also to some of the callers who would have been trying and might not have gotten through. But here's the good side of this. We have the guarantee that Mr. Janssens will be back with us. Maybe several times as we continue to clear the air, and I would dare say do some damage control, because I think that he should have and the team should have been doing a lot more in terms of bringing some more information to the public. He did mention that the government didn't want them to actually bring certain things that early because they were not fully signed or in agreement yet. But we do look forward to more of this, type of information and being that open and direct to the public, so that as we can get it from the horse's mouth, as they would say, in local parlance. So thank you very much. You could have been doing anything else, but you would have, taken out 2 hours plus of your time. And I know guys like you, your time is money, and so we really value and appreciate you, taking the time out to be here and giving us this exclusive opportunity to have the first interview like this on the Destiny Project here in Nevis.
Yeah, thank you to both of you for having me. I was very happy to be here, and to also keep it civil and have the tough questions asked. I'm very happy. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Janssens, and remember to subscribe. Remember also, tomorrow we have Medicine for You with Dr. Charles Macmillan, and then Friday we have Dr. Knife, Professor Knife from the University of the West Indies, where we'll be having conversation about agriculture and tourism, seeing which way the best way to develop our land and stuff like that. Also remember to support Manso's Last Stop at Shabazaga next over in Catesby, where from Thursday to Sunday you get your home cooked meal, soul food, and check out the farm, Star Apple, green bananas, having watermelon, tomatoes, bell peppers. So come out, check out the farm, see, in a cool settings. And also, we appreciate you guys for choosing Real Entertainment. Without you, we are nothing. You are the one who made this show possible. Sometimes we get, but it's our love. We're all one native people. We cannot let this development divide us and have us fighting amongst ourselves. We just need more transparency, more open dialogue. And then whichever way this decision, this thing goes, it's going to affect us either in a good way or a bad way. And with the natives at the end of the day is the one who's going to feel it most, not the 50, 60,000 other Nevis or Kiddishan who is out there. With the indigenous people is who it's going to affect at the end of the day. So we got to really come together in a way, have open, it's very emotional at time, but we just got to listen. And at the end of the day, everything will work itself out. So Mr. Janssens, thank you again for coming on the show. Big up Stephanie and big up Elmes. Definitely you have two great young ladies there on your team. And they're very, very, very wonderful. I mean, I just got to be straight up. You understand? Because I did not accept my call as a stranger and didn't have to reach out to you to give me this interview. And they stick to their word and we made it happen. So I want to say thank you again. And definitely I'll be reaching out to Elmes. Right now, let her know my phone is acting up. So until I get it started, you reaching me. But anything, she can send her email. So thank you again, and thank for all those who tuning in. And remember, subscribe. Tomorrow we have Wednesday we have a next show coming up, and Friday we continue this conversation with Professor Knife, where we're going to contrast culture and tourism. All right, Yahsonn?
Yes, give thanks. It was a wonderful discussion, and we do look forward to having you back on the platform. As Bankie mentioned, we as indigenous people, the natives of the island, lands are very, very crucial. And So the discussion surrounding land, the issues and the emotions surrounding lands would be very, very tense. And so and you would expect that kind of pushback, and you should expect this kind of pushback. But as you mentioned, you're gonna try your best to bring the facts to the table. And though you may bring the facts, and sometimes people say what starts bad sometimes can come good. And the reality is, many people feel that this was brought to them in a form of secrecy and a lot of, and I think that is part of what is the major issue in terms of some of the pushback. So we hope to get that level of transparency, and I hope that the people and the voice of the people are taken into consideration. As as we mentioned, there's some who are for and there's some who are against, and we're going to continue with the poll, and we're going to hope that we could get the information from the poll, because you're looking for, based on what you said, you're looking for this to be pushed at least in the House by December, or at least early January, or at least to be signed off around that time. That's what you're looking towards. And so we're hoping that we could get some information from the polls even prior to that, so that you could get a better idea of the people can demonstrate clearly, whether they want this or they don't really want this. And, so we can, see where we are with that. So, like I said, thank you very much. And thank you, audience, our people. Again, we apologize for not being able to, respond to a lot of your questions. We did get some, and I'm sure that even with our discourse and our questions, some of the things that you probably would have had there would have been answered in some way, shape, or form. If not, definitely the next time we have Mr. Janssens back on the platform, which should be very soon, he would be able to respond to some of those and or other questions that may come up. Thank you again, and we love you. Remember to go over to our YouTube platform and subscribe to the YouTube platform. See you guys on Wednesday when we have another edition of Medicine for the People here on Real Entertainment Network.
Took a shot, that's the rock. Girl, you left my stomach